So where are we? Has it gotten any better?
Still going to snow, Josh?
It's still going to snow.
It's going to snow a lot. We're going to see up to a foot of snow here in New York City on Sunday. Might cancel my kids' basketball game. But snow is already falling in the Rockies. And what's amazing about this one is it's such a huge part of the United States. This will affect up to 170 million people, it's going to stretch 1,500 miles. And a big test will be Texas on Monday morning.
Why Texas is such a test? Is it because of what happened there a few years ago? Is it because of the concerns with the power lines freezing there? What is it?
It's partly because we saw so many deaths in such an intense power grid emergency almost 5 years ago. But Texas is not used to extreme cold. So when you have a polar vortex, pressing down from the Arctic like we have, that's going to just put a lot of stress on the state. The state's power grid is expecting a demand peak of 84 gigawatts. That's not just going to be a winter record, it's going to get close to a summer record. And that much demand is going to be tough for the grid to keep up with.
Wait, can you just explain 84 gigawatts? We hear kilowatt hours is sort of like what our own home energy use is measured in. Gigawatts we hear in relation to AI.
So gigawatts are the big boys.
Okay.
1 gigawatt is roughly the output of one nuclear reactor. So if you think of, the nuclear power plant in The Simpsons, 84 of those, producing power across Texas.
You know what? You've made my day. You've made my week. You've made my year by that reference. Hey, listen, Texas, though, we go back to 2021, right? That was when it was just really rough. Texas, I have a lot of family in Texas. It's not an area that usually has to deal with this kind of weather. The president was out, and I want to bring this into it, Josh, because you follow the environment, and he put out on social, record cold wave expected to hit 40 states, rarely seen anything like it before. Could the environmental insurrectionists please explain whatever happened to global warming? What do you say to that? Because my understanding of global warming is, yes, the planet is getting warmer, but there's also extreme movements when it comes to weather overall, and that is certainly what we've seen.
That's right. So global warming is one term. Climate change is a more accurate, broader term, because what climate change does is it makes for more erratic swings in temperature and more types of extreme weather. So sometimes that can be global warming, a warming and a drying, making for more intense wildfires, for example. But it can also do things like make hurricanes more powerful by making more moisture in the air, so those swirling winds pick up more water out of the ocean.
And that's what we've seen in terms of intensity of storms, whether it's winter storms, whether it's hurricanes, and they're also happening in places that they didn't used to happen before.
Right, and actually with this storm, the fact that there's so much cold air pushing down out of the north, the reason it's able to come so far south and this storm is going to be striking Texas is because the jet stream is not keeping that polar vortex contained the way it normally would. You'd have to get a full-time weather reporter, not a power reporter, to explain whether that's a result of climate change.
Right.
But those kinds of weather patterns, it is what's making these storms so intense.
Well, I'm going to throw a power question your way and talk a little about energy use. We know it's expected to increase, of course, as people turn up their heat when it gets colder outside and more heat is needed. Here in New York City, Con Edison, much of the lines for power lines are buried underground in New York City. Is that an advantage in a storm like this?
Yeah, for sure. Buried lines in a storm are much more secure. That's going to be better in places like California, which is working to bury its lines. That's better for preventing wildfires. And in a place like New York City, having the lines underground means they're less likely to freeze, get overloaded, have a tree fall into them, get knocked out in that way.